And showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest episode of the ChannelPro 5-Minute Roundup. A look at news, trends, and tips for the SMB channel in 5 minutes or thereabouts. My name is Rich Freeman. I'm executive editor of the ChannelPro Network, joined side by side this week with my regular co-host, Erick Simpson, a business transformation and improvement expert for MSPs and other IT providers. Erick, tell the folks where we are.
We are in Orange County, California, Rich, at SMB TechFest today.
That is a quarterly series of events here in Southern California. Erick's neck of the woods. We're at the Q2 show, which is taking place even as we speak behind us. I think we're both in our respective hometowns next week, but then a couple of weeks from now, we'll be at a conference again, the ChannelPro conference.
Looking forward to that in Chi-Town.
Yeah, absolutely. So last week was a enormously busy news week. This week is actually kind of a slow one. So our story of the week on this episode of the show is not even all that tied to the news. It's something that appears in the latest issue of ChannelPro magazine that I thought was worth highlighting. Now, on last week's episode, I had just gotten back from the Tech Data Endpoint Symposium, where they were talking about opportunities with endpoints. And the big theme essentially was lots of business still to be done selling endpoints to end users, but you really need to be talking about that to them in terms of solutions. We've got some research actually in the current issue of ChannelPro based on data from Spiceworks that points out even if you're not necessarily talking about solutions to your customers, there's actually more life in hardware out there maybe than some people would think, given all the talk about cloud computing and IoT and all of those other markets, which are huge and growing, and that's very much where the future of the industry lies. But according to Spiceworks, 30% of small businesses are going to be buying servers within the next 12 months. 34% of mid-sized companies will be buying server hardware within the next 12 months. And, you know, I'm looking for the statistics here in terms of the percentage of businesses that are still using on-premises hardware. And needless to say, it's enormous. 98% of businesses currently run on-premises servers. That number will obviously go down over time, but it's going to be a big number for a long, long time to come. So it's one of those good reminders. I think, you know, those of us in the media, folks in the analyst community, we're always very interested in staying out on the edge of where technology is going and keeping our readers and our customers informed about that kind of a thing. It's important that we do that as well, but I think we can get out ahead of ourselves a little bit at times and, you know, maybe forget about just how much money there is to be made in some of these more traditional technologies, which are very much alive and kicking, and server hardware is an excellent example of that.
I was surprised at the high percentage of folks relying on on-premise servers. And, you know, I think you're right, Rich. I think sometimes we get caught up in the hype cycle of this new stuff, and it's cool and new and shiny, and it's a new squirrel that we chase. But I guess my perspective on this for partners watching this 5-minute roundup is go out there and let your clients know 30% of them require new servers, and go sell that to them now.
Yeah, which is absolutely true. I mean, and I don't know what the figure is for or was for your company when you were an MSP yourself, but I mean, in terms of how often you would recommend that your SMB clients upgrade their hardware, if that was a 3-year cycle or a 5-year cycle, and you know, yeah, probably 30% of your customers are due for newer hardware. So yeah, by all means, factor that into the quarterly business reviews. You know, get them on that regular hardware upgrade cycle. And, you know, it's going to keep them productive and efficient, and keep the performance high, and keep the odds of hardware failures low. And they're probably not throwing out their servers anytime soon.
Right, and remember, don't sell the server as kind of a point product or solution. Build a business outcome around the server. So if it's time for a little bit more of an infrastructure upgrade and things like that, you know, use the server as kind of the core foot in the door, but then also build, take advantage of the opportunity to upgrade the rest of the infrastructure as much as you can, as it makes sense.
Now, as we sit here and record this episode of the show, we are getting towards lunchtime at the conference, the SMB TechFest conference, and lunch, Eric, has something to do with your tip of the week.
It certainly does, Rich. And my tip of the week is all about making time to take your clients to lunch. And I'm not talking about having any other ulterior motive like sneaking in a QBR during lunch or any of that. This is simply a relationship building tool. It's an opportunity for you to touch your clients in a way that is not a business meeting. I mean, who doesn't want to go to lunch? You know, it's easy to schedule a lunch, take a client to lunch and get to know them as a person and build that strong relationship bond, because what you're actually doing is you're charging up your warm-up credits. You know, as we talk about the 7-step sales process, the second step is the warm-up, is where we get the client to take their mind off of business and build a connection between us. And you know, some folks use kind of golf outings to do this kind of thing. But I think, you know, for businesses of our, of our shape and size and the folks that we want to, build good relationships around, I think calling someone and inviting them out to lunch and making that happen is a lot simpler sometimes than structuring a QBR or a business meeting, which has a completely different purpose. So don't mix the two. This is all about you building a stronger, deeper relationship with your client just from the sake of building that relationship, and good things will definitely come from that.
There really is a trust factor, I think, that comes from getting to know somebody, a vendor. If you're a business owner, getting to know that vendor who's doing your IT on a personal level, sharing a meal with them, it really does kind of factor into your willingness to trust the advice that they're giving you, and trust your business basically to the services that they're providing. So it's absolutely not wasted time, frivolous time. Cultivating the relationship in that way, it can be very personally rewarding, and it's also ultimately smart business.
Right, and it's important to take them outside of their business. Take them somewhere, treat them at a nice lunch. I mean, and over time, I mean, it doesn't have to be a steak lunch or anything like that. You get to build a relationship with them. Sometimes you feel like a burger, and sometimes you feel like something a little bit more hearty. But that'll come as the relationship develops. And I think this is just one of those things that sometimes we don't pay too much attention to, is that investment that you're making in growing that relationship. And having a meal shared with your client is a great way to do that.
And if they won't make time for lunch, golf actually does work pretty well also. So keep that in mind. Well, we've got time for just one more story this week on the 5-minute roundup. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, it's very much where our industry is headed. Enormous power that it's putting into the hands of medical researchers and security professionals in our own corner of the world. And also there are some other interesting applications for artificial intelligence. It turns out that students at the Technical University of Munich have been using artificial intelligence technology to figure out who is going to claim the Iron Throne in the final season of Game of Thrones. Now, in this article, we're reading about the story, they actually tell you what the artificial intelligence system came up with, the answer it came up with. We will not do the spoiler for you, so you'll either have to look it up yourself or just wait until the end of the season. But I will say that the students at this very same university 3 years ago made a very important plot call on Game of Thrones. They have a track record of getting this right. So if you want to know, if you maybe want to ace a bet with your friends, this might be something to check out. And even if you don't, actually, it's good to know that the power of artificial intelligence is being put to such excellent purposes.
And the parents of these kids have just got to be so proud that they're applying themselves with this cutting edge technology in such a fruitful manner for the rest of us.
Well, that is all the time we've got this week on the ChannelPro 5-minute roundup. Thank you very much for joining us once again. If you like the show, you'd like to keep up with future episodes, take a look at some of the ones we've done in the past, what you want to do is subscribe to the ChannelPro Network channel on YouTube. You'll get all the information you need there. You want to read more about research, like the study that we talked about today, keep up with the news, learn business growth strategies for your company, you want to go to channelpronetwork.com. On a daily basis, we've got great new content going up all the time over there. To learn more about Erick and the work that he does with his clients, the place to go is www.ericksimpson.com. That is ERICK Simpson.com. So that's it for this week. We will be back again next week, recording from separate places. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week. Erick and I are enjoying the rest of your week already.